A hard life doesn't mean you're being punished for a past life. It might just mean that you're a very advanced soul.
Welcome to Soul Guide with Vondi Lozano, a show about past lives, life between lives, and this life.
Hey, everybody, it's Vondi, and I'm really happy to be here with you today. I can't believe it's December. And I just wanted to share with you that today we're talking about how past life hypnosis from a life between lives perspective is sort of beyond or in addition to or sort of the 2.0 version of what we think of as traditional past life regression. And so that's what I want to share with you today. So let me go ahead and add my slides. Here we go. So beyond traditional past life regression and reincarnation. So I know a lot of you found Life Between Lives by way of past life regression or being interested in past life or past lives. So this is in no way to take away from that. It's just sort of to expand our perspective on that. So in traditional past life regression, people are typically asked, or the question people are looking to answer is, how is my current life suffering related to some sort of trauma or event in a past life, or being punished maybe for a past life, or rewarded, I guess, if it's a good life. And I have to say, I have not typically seen that to be true in all the past life sessions I've done. And in Life Between Lives hypnosis, your first session is a past life regression. So I've done a fair number of them, and a lot of people come just for a past life session. And only once or twice has the word karma, well, once the word karma was mentioned, and that was Molly's sessions. And it wasn't because she was being punished, it was that she had some fear, I guess fear left over from some lives. And they wanted her to work on that so that she could move onto the life between lives and that she could stay there on the other side. Remember, they were showing her everything on the other side and how big and wonderful it was because they wanted her to finish up that fear and come over and be there. And then very recently, I did a session for someone who, in a Holocaust past life, I'm trying to think how much to say, in a Holocaust past life, took the lives of some others, but for good reasons. She was trying to spare them from being captured from the Nazis. But still, that wasn't part of the plan. And so in her session, she learned that she chose a life of service this time so that she could kind of earn her way back into her soul group. And that's the only time I've ever heard that in all the sessions I've done. And I actually posted it in a Newton group to ask if anybody else had ever heard of that. And nobody had. So those are the two times. But typically, what we find is we're asking, how is this current life not related to some past life thing that you're being punished for, but to your overall soul journey? So in Life Between Lives, everything is kind of from that bigger perspective, like top down. We're on the other side, which is your true home. That's your real life. And we're looking at how the past lives, how you chose them and are choosing this life to accomplish your soul's purpose. So each life is chosen for a very particular reason to advance your soul's development. Again, not in response to something you did or didn't do in a past life. Though sometimes if you didn't get the lesson in the past life, you do get to repeat it in the next life. So maybe you chose this life if you're having a hard life to develop compassion. So you're an advanced soul choosing really challenging lessons like compassion and empathy. So you're experiencing suffering because your soul wanted to be able to experience that, to have more compassion for others who are suffering. So advanced souls typically do choose harder lives. We have a whole episode about that if you're interested. And also, we don't just leapfrog from life to life. It's not like we just go past life to the next life to the next life. When Michael Newton did his Life Between Lives sessions, that was what was mind blowing, was discovering this whole other side, what we would call heaven, I guess, typically, and that's home. And then he did his 7,000 sessions where he sort of mapped out what happens on the other side. So again, we don't just leapfrog between lives so that you have to clean up from the past life. Typically, when you cross over, if it's been a difficult life, like a Holocaust life, or even just a normally difficult life, you go to a place of healing. And so you heal from each life. And then you have your whole life over there before you come back into an earthly life. So that is outside of time, but let's just say a lot more time than quickly goes by over here. And if you have questions, feel free to post them in the comments section. And in fact, next week we're going to be doing our monthly Q&A, so we invite your questions for that show as well. So as I was saying, your Life Between Lives experience is a two-part process. So the first session, you visit a past life and typically meet your spirit guide, though as we saw in Lauren's session, her husband, who is her soulmate, showed up. But usually in all the sessions I've done, only maybe twice did a loved one show up, 2 or 3 times other than your spirit guide. And then in your part two, the second part of your Life Between Lives experience, you return to your Life Between Lives. And we pick up where we left off from the first one, typically. Though we go to your immediate past life. We do another past life session, and then we move into your Life Between Lives because we're exploring the time between that life and this life. So it's a two-part process. So past life regression is part of this. Oh, let's see. We have a spammer. We must be getting popular because we just had somebody spam us. So I just blocked them. Okay. So I'm often asked the question, what if I've already had a past life regression? Can I skip that part of the process? And the general rule is it's not usually a good idea, but we can make exceptions on a case by case basis. But let me explain a little bit of how we make that decision. So when I did my training, they let me know very clearly that this is a two-part process. And really, for most people, it's a once in a life experience. Some people come back for additional Life Between Life sessions, but for a lot of people, this is a one time thing. They travel far, they invest a lot of time and energy, and it's life changing. And so we want to do everything we can to optimize that experience. We want it to be the best that it can possibly be for you. And the first part, the past life session, the initial one, sets us up for the second session. And let me show you a little bit of why and how that works. So these are some of the questions that we ask if someone says, well, I've already had one. Was there an opportunity to fully explore a past life? There's different modalities, I guess you will. Oh, hi, David. David wrote spammers have past lives too. I think you're right. Thank you, David. Always good to have a sense of humor. In fact, on the other side, they love humor. They love humor and laughter. So, one of the things we check is, was there an opportunity to fully explore a past life? Because a lot of modalities, they take you to little snapshots of multiple lives. Whereas what we do is you get the full story of one particular life. So we go to the childhood, we go to meaningful milestones in the adulthood, to turning points, to who was the most important person. So you're walked through the whole life. So you get the story. Sometimes there's feelings that you've been holding for hundreds or thousands of years that are released. They're often quite emotional and powerful. In fact, when people say, was I making all that up? The fact that you were grieving over a lost child or a lost partner, if you were just making all that up, I don't think you would be feeling that depth of feelings. There's a little text conversation going on in the chat between David and Leticia, who now know each other from the retreat. So it's pretty funny. Everybody's just saying hello. So if someone says, if I've already had a past life session, these are some of the things I ask. Was it meaningful? Did you fully flesh out the story? Did you get a chance to release anything you may have been holding from that life? And then at the end of that life, did you cross over into the afterlife? So this is where the past life regression moves beyond a traditional past life regression, because we're not just saying, how did this life relate to your life today, which is the main point we'll get to in a minute. But we take you briefly into your life between lives. So we're putting your toe in the water in your life between lives, if you will. So we go to the final day, we find out, was this a surprise? Sometimes it's a sudden death. Someone is shot or there's an accident, they're killed or there's an accident. And then that is its own thing for us to explore. Or for many people, it's just they're old, they've been ill, and we get to find out what happened, how that life sort of wraps up. They get to reflect on that life. What did it mean? How did they feel? Was it a good life or do they have some regrets? So it really is exploring and fully fleshing out and healing anything that needs to be healed from that life. And then when they cross over, we ask, what did it feel like to die? And I can tell you, it's always freedom, a relief. People say it's just like taking off, a set of clothes and moving into a new set of clothes. So moving into your life between lives is a very easy transition. And then what are you experiencing now? Sometimes people are still very near the body and the scene. Most oftentimes they say, I've already gone somewhere else. Like they're zooming to the other side. And then when they cross over, did they get to meet their spirit guide? Because this is where we get to find out all about that life. We don't have to guess what was that life about. Your spirit guide will tell us. So first of all, we ask you to become aware of your spirit guides, sense their energy, their love. Are they presenting as a male or a female or just light energy? And what is being communicated to you? And it's usually welcome home, love. People describe it as being enfolded in a hug of love. And usually that's just a beautiful, quiet moment where I'll kind of step back and just allow you to reconnect with this being. So, who is your spirit guide? Who has been with you since your soul was created. So, we've had some recent sessions where people have been talking about the soul nursery and how souls are created, which is pretty wild. But your spirit guide has been with you since your soul came into being. And so they've been with you through hundreds or thousands of lives. So it's a beautiful, powerful moment when you reunite with them. They're usually there to greet you when you cross over, but I will say in your life between lives, for the more advanced souls, they skip the spirit guide meeting because they don't really need that orientation and they go right into their soul group. And their spirit guide is there, but a little more hands off because they don't need quite as much hand holding. But they do often guide you through your life between lives. They go to your counsel with you, sometimes more in the background. Again, the more advanced souls are a little more independent, and some spirit guides are a little more like encouraging independence. But typically, we ask, did you get to meet your spirit guide? Because that's the highlight. That's the highlight. And again, this is when you've crossed over into your life between lives. So this is where it's past life regression 2.0, because you are taking your first steps into your life between lives. And then your spirit guide helps us debrief from that past life regression. So they chose that session, they chose that past life for you. So we ask the guide to show us a past life that is related to and meaningful to whatever you're going through today. So they will kind of cherry pick, hand pick a specific life that will have a message for you about this life today. So the first thing we ask is, how did this soul do in that past life? And most of the time we hear they did great, they did well, but every now and then we'll hear, they kind of missed the lesson a little bit. And then we get to see how that lesson is being carried over or they're exploring it a little differently or more fully in this life. So, how did this soul do in that past life? What was the purpose of that past life? And I had a Holocaust session where I said, what was the purpose of that life? And they said, loss. And that person works with grief in this life. So they were being prepared for that. I've had them where they'll say, that the purpose of that life was to build relationships, but in this life, they're being more independent. Or the purpose in that life was to have freedom, but in this life, they're choosing to be more connected. So this is where we get to start making sense of it. And then why were we shown that past life today? And so I see lots of little conversations. David, it was a joy. Oh my gosh, to meet my spirit guide finally after all these years of being guided. Yes. Thank you, David. So your spirit guide is with you, even if you're not aware of them. They're with you in this life. Yes, David, they're definitely with you, guiding us. That little inner nudge. They're with you. And a lot of people who've done this kind of work, I know we have many guides, but this would be what we would call your primary spirit guide, the one who's been with you through all your lives. So, why were we shown that past life today? I had a session where someone had a past life where they were very strong and independent. and they were told they needed to draw on that strength and remember that strength in this life. So again, they'll handpick a specific life that will show you what you're needing to work on or how you're following through on that lesson in this life. So it's not that you're being punished or rewarded in this life. It's more that you're on a trajectory through many lives. And we just get to see the piece of the puzzle that that life fit in and how this life fits in. So sometimes, even in your life between lives, we'll explore different past lives and how they're all different pieces of the puzzle and how this life is the next piece or the next step in that process. So, and then we also can say in the past life session, again, a little sneak peek into your life between lives. Why were we shown that past life today? And what is the purpose of this life? And you'll again see the thread and how it's being woven through that past life and how you're working on that lesson or expanding that lesson or furthering your development in this life. So your past life really is the first step in your life between lives exploration process. So it's a good thing if you've had other past life sessions, but we want you to have the optimal life between lives experience. And so we want you to have the kind of past life regression that really is the first step and sets the foundation for your life between lives experience. And so that's why most of the time, unless you've had a past life regression session with another life between lives facilitator, we will usually do both sessions, the past life where you meet your spirit guide, as well as your life between lives. It's sort of a two-part package. So I'm not seeing any questions, but a whole bunch of comments between David and Leticia. It's really fun to see. But I just wanted to say, so this is a perfect segue to the fact that we are offering our very first post-COVID past life workshop. We were doing them quite a bit before COVID, but of course, all that went away. So we are doing our very first one. I'm really excited in January in Ojai. I love Ojai, up there in the beautiful Topa Topa Mountains. So Leticia is going to post the link in the comments and share that with you all. And if you're listening, she'll post it in the podcast comments as well. So it's lifebetweenliveshypnosis.com/events. And you can find out more about it at our website. Again, it's our first one. You do need to register in advance. In the morning, we'll be doing some guided imagery and exploring more about this life. And then in the second part in the afternoon, we do the group past life regression. And how that works is I ask the same questions I ask in the individual session. It's just instead of answering out loud, you just answer inside your mind to yourself. And so I walk you through the life, I walk you through the childhood, the milestones, the important people, the turning points. And then at the end, you cross over and you can meet your spirit guide. And we ask them why you were shown that life. How does it relate to this life? And what is your purpose in this life? So it's really exciting. I hope you'll join us January 21 in Ojai. We're posting it in the comment section now. And please let me know if you have any questions. So let me look and see what else I needed to say. Next week we'll be doing our monthly Q&A, as I mentioned. So please post any comments. And then the week after, we have a special guest who's going to be coming to share about her past life session. And she's very modest, as all advanced souls are, but off the charts, advanced soul, really amazing sessions. So I hope you'll join us. Thank you for watching. And if you're listening later on, thank you for listening. Can't wait to see you next time.
Thank you for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and follow. And join us next week for another episode of Soul Guide.